Welcome back. Okay, so a lot of people are grilling out this weekend for Father's Day. So have you thought about what you're seasoning with, right? What are your seasons? I've got horticulturist Patrick Dickinson and water expert Denise Hickey with us to give us some homegrown seasoning ideas. So let's talk about the plants that love the summer heat.
That's right. We always talk about selecting plants that are correct for either the sunlight or the shade, planting them in the right spot, but being native or adapted to this area. And believe it or not, all of these herbs are low water use plants, and rosemary and lavender, they love to be dry. They like soil that drains real well. We like to say they don't like to get their feet wet. So you want to plant them where the soil will drain.
So how do herbs and that water conservation work together, Denise?
Well, since they're low water use plants, they don't require a lot of water to maintain growth. Rosemary is one of those that will come back every year, and it requires very little water. The hotter it gets, the better the plant comes.
That's good to know. That's really good to know. All right, so can you grow this in your apartment?
Sure you can. Any of these plants you can put in a pot or a container. I have most of these out on my patio, and since they're low use, it makes it very easy to tell when you're so you don't overwater, because they'll have the little hole in the bottom of the pot. So, and think of it as a small little micro climate here in the pot versus out in the large landscape. Makes sense. You've got the herbs you need to just go out, snip, and use in your recipes for the weekend. That seems to
be a big thing right now, right? Even if you live in an apartment, people love to plant things and know that they can eat it as well?
Exactly.
All right, Patrick, explain.
Well, this can be a lot of fun. Growing your own herbs that you buy in the store. We say herb your enthusiasm.
Ooh.
Yeah. So the great thing about it is there's two tips that I want to start with. Is number one, you want to cut mid-morning after the leaves have dried. Like I cut these out of my garden this morning.
Because is there morning dew on the plants?
Yes, and we want to make sure that's dried out.
I'm a green thumb.
Yeah, so that's
really
one of them.
I'm just playing.
But cutting and drying can be very simple.
Okay.
You know, keeping your hand shears, your scissors. For example, the oregano. I'm just going to go in and I'm just going to snip.
This is oregano.
Yeah, and so it does not take much. Your natural plants that you're growing are going to be a lot more potent than the herbs you're buying in the store. I use rubber bands. Or even some string, and you can tie them up, hang them, and allow them to dry out.
What plant is this?
This is sage, so similar to your Thanksgiving seasonings.
Yes.
Where people using smudgers for their homes. That's the very thing. Now, one of the things you can also do if you don't want to sit there and wait for it to dry, you can use your oven to dry herbs.
That's true too.
And one of the tips that I like to do is a lot of people say, I'm not going to sit there and pick all these leaves off of there. Well, I'm going to show you a little trick. I take my colander, right, and I stick the stem, this is the oregano, through the colander. And then as I pull it through the other side, it strips all my leaves off for me.
Oh, Patrick, that's so creative.
And then I can just put it on a tray. I set my oven on the lowest setting, crack the door, and allow it to just kind of heat up and dry the leaves out. Sift it from time to time. It takes about an hour.
So at this point, after you bake it, how do you cook with it?
Well, you can crumble it up. You use these airtight sealers. These you can buy at dollar stores and all over the place. Seal it like you would do. Make sure it's airtight and dry.
Anything,
And you have your fresh seasoning. Now, remember I said these are potent. So let's say,
extra strong.
Yes. So let's say your recipe.
I can smell it right now.
Aromatherapy.
Yes.
Yes, it's that aromatherapy and fun. Is if it says it calls for 1 tablespoon.
You might need half of that.
Do 1 teaspoon.
1 teaspoon. Okay.
Yeah, and you can crumble up these leaves like you would buy in the store and season with them. Another fun tip, or not fun tip, but safe tip is remember that if you do have a pest problem or if you spray anything around your landscape, you need to remember that you're digesting that as well.
Good advice, Patrick. We're going to get all of that on our website at WFAA.com. Thank you so much for joining us. I can really smell the oregano. We'll be right back after this break.